Hey, it's Mike from Backyard Boatworks, and as you can see, I got the skeg installed yesterday, and then we put a fillet of epoxy onto it. As you can see, I've got it masked off with some masking tape, and my next project, we had the glass on there, and it's got one layer of epoxy over the glass. There's no epoxy down here below where the glass is, so the next project is to roll another coat over the glass, and at least one coat. We'll probably do two coats over the wood down to this portion. Eventually I'm planning on varnishing this, but at this point I'm only going to put the epoxy down to this area here. Part of the reason is I'm going to go back to the West epoxy mainly because I've ran out of the Moz epoxy, and I'm not sure how the West epoxy is going to affect the color difference between the Moz and the anyway, so I'm just going to do the West epoxy system for the upper portion. I've ordered some Moz, and when that comes in, I will use that on this area here, which is going to be varnished. I'm going to paint this portion, and then the bottom is going to be a white primer. So we have one coat when we put the glass on there, but it didn't completely fill the weave of the glass. So I want to try to fill that. And then on the wood areas, down below where I haven't quite got the epoxy, we want to seal up the wood so that it's basically waterproof, that the water isn't going to get in and damage the wood. Up a little bit on the seams here. Okay. So I got the second coat of epoxy over the fiberglass last night, and actually the first coat of epoxy over the wood below where the fiberglass is. Now I had run out of the Moz epoxy, which is supposed to be a no blush epoxy. I've got some on order, but I've got a lot of the West epoxy system. That's what I've been using for the last 20 years. The one downside to the West epoxy system, and I think most epoxy systems, is that you can get what they call an amian blush on it, especially if it's a little on the cold side, or if it's high humidity. Now last night when I set it up, I had the heat going out here pretty good, so I don't see any ambient blush on it, but to be on the safe side, I am going to wash it down with I've got some warm water with a couple of drops of Dawn detergent in it, and we're just going to wipe the hull down and then wipe it off really good. I'm also going to then use one of the brown scrubbies to rough it up a little bit before I put one more coat on the epoxy. What ambient blush is when epoxy is curing, especially in the cold or humid conditions, it can leave a waxy surface on it, which then prevents the next coat from sticking, or paint, or whatever you're doing. So you need to get that off, and you don't want to just sand it. In fact, if you try to sand it, it'll gum up your sandpaper, and it just kind of spreads it around. It doesn't necessarily get rid of it. So you need to kind of, it is a water soluble material, so if you just wipe it down with just a wet rag with a little bit of detergent on it, that seems to solve it. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do another coat on from here to here with epoxy, so I'll have two coats on the wood. I don't think I really need to go another coat on the hull, but I'll look at it after I sand it down. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm trying to keep some of the dust level down, so I brought it outside. It's a halfway decent day. Do some sanding on it. So been using the sander on it, but now I'm going to kind of finish things up with a hand. So I've got the hull sanded down, and so now I'm going to mark the where the water line is. So I'm going to put a epoxy primer under the water line, and so I need to mark where that's at. And according to the plans, we need to come down from here 5 3/4. Yeah, my glasses in here. Okay, so there is 5 3/4. Now let me go up to the bow. So I've measured up here at the bow, and we want to make a mark. Oops. Okay, we're right there. So I'm kind of at the midpoint section, and it's 5/8 below this particular section. So right there. Now let me go measure it on the other side. Alright, so now I need to figure out how to connect all the different points and make a mark. Alright, what do you think, Maya? Does this look level? What do you think? What do you think? Does this look good? I'm trying to figure out where the water line is. I've marked the boat with the 4 different positions, and you can kind of see, hopefully you can see with where the laser, I've got a laser level, and I've got it positioned there, and you can see the line. And so I'm going to keep drawing that between all 4 different sections here to mark off the water line. So that's where we're going. So I had made some previous marks there. Let me just kind of continue these. All right, let me get some tape on those. All right, so I'm putting tape on the water line. Oops. And I'm going to have to trim this transition area, but I'll do that later. Hi Maya, what do you think? Does that look good? So last night I just finished rolling on the third coat of the epoxy two-part primer. So this looks like a good spot to end the video. If you've enjoyed it, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.